Hey y'all, new day, new bit to get into. I can't wait to dig in Friday with the next section of Matthew, but I just felt the Spirit come over me and tell me to share the stories of Tamar and Rahab. And when I was studying them, it was in the CJB version, but I want to share it in the Message. And maybe it's just so they're there. But whoever this is for, here we go. Genesis 38. At about that time, Judah separated from his brothers and went to stay with a man in Adullam named Hirah. While there, Judah met the daughter of a Canaanite named Shua. He married her. They went to bed. She became pregnant and had a son, She got pregnant again and had a son named Onan. She had still another son. She named this one Shelah. They were living in Kizip when she had them. Judah got a wife for his firstborn. Her name was Tamar. But Judah's firstborn grievously offended Yahweh, and Yahweh took his life. So Judah told Onan, "Go and sleep with your brother's widow. It's your duty of your brother-in-law to keep your brother's line alive." But Onan knew that the child wouldn't be his. So whenever he slept with his brother, he spilled his semen on the ground, so he wouldn't produce a child for his brother. Yahweh was much offended by what he did, and also took his life. So Judah stepped in and told his daughter-in-law Tamar, "Live as a widow at home with your father until my son Shelah grows up." He was worried that Shelah would also end up dead, just like his brothers. So Tamar went to live with her father. Time passed. Judah's wife, Shua's daughter, died. When the time of mourning was over, Judah, with his son Hirah of Adullam, went to Timnah for the sheep shearing. Tamar was told, "Your father-in-law has gone to Timnah to shear his sheep." She took off her widow's clothes, put on a veil to disguise herself, and sat at the entrance of Enaim, which is on the road to Timnah. She realized by now that even though Shelah was grown up, she wasn't going to be married to him. Judah saw her and assumed she was a prostitute. Since she had veiled her face, he left the road and went over to her. He said, "Let me sleep with you." He had no idea that she was his daughter-in-law. She said, "What will you pay me?" "I'll send you," he said, "a kid goat from the flock." She said, "Not unless you give me a pledge until you send it." "So what would you want in a way of pledge?" She said, "Your personal seal and cord, and the staff you carry." He handed them over to her, and slept with her, and she got pregnant. She then left and went home. She removed her veil and put her widow's clothes back on. Judah sent the kid goat by his friend from Adullam to recover the pledge from the woman, but he couldn't find her. He asked the men of the place, "Where's the prostitute that used to sit by the road here, near Enaim?" They said, "There's never been a prostitute here." He went back to Judah and said, "I couldn't find her. The men there said that there never has been a prostitute there." Judah said, "Let her have it then. For if we keep looking, everyone will be poking fun at us. I kept my part of the bargain. I sent the kid goat, but you couldn't find her." 3 months or so later, Judah was told, "Your daughter-in-law has been playing the whore, and now she's a pregnant whore." Judah yelled, get her out here. Burn her up." And they brought her out. She sent a message to her father-in-law. "I'm pregnant by the man who owns these things. Identify them, please. Who's the owner of the seal and the cord and the staff?" Judah said they were his. He said, "She's in the right. I'm in the wrong. I wouldn't let her marry my son Shelah." He never slept with her again. When it came time to give birth, it turned out that there were twins in her womb. As she was giving birth, one put his hand out. The midwife tied a red thread on his hand, saying, "This one came first." But then he pulled it back, and his brother came out. She said, "Oh, a breakout." So she named him Perez, breakout. Then his brother came out with a red thread on his hand. They named him Zerah, bright, or scarlet. And the story of Rahab can be found in Joshua 2. Then Joshua son of Nun secretly sent 2 spies from Shittim. "Go, look over the land," he said, "especially Jericho." So they went and entered the house of a prostitute named Rahab, and stayed there. The king of Jericho was told, "Look, some of the Israelites have come here tonight to spy out the land." So the king of Jericho sent this message to Rahab: "Bring out the men who came to you and entered your house, because they have come to spy out the whole land." But the woman had taken the 2 men and hidden them. She said, "Yes, the men came here, but I didn't know where they had come from." At dusk, when it was time to close the city gate, they left. "I don't know which way they went. Go after them quickly. You may be able to catch them." But she had taken them up to the roof and hidden them under the stalks of flax that she had laid out on the roof. So the men set out in pursuit of the spies on the road that leads to the fords of the Jordan, and as soon as the pursuers had gone out, the gate was shut. Before the spies laid down for the night, she went up on the roof and said to them, "I know that Yahweh, the Lord, has given you this land, and that a great fear of you has fallen on us, so that all who live in this country are melting in fear because of you. We have heard how the Lord Yahweh dried up the water of the Red Sea for you when you came out of Egypt, and what you did to Sihon and Og, the 2 kings of the Amorites east of the Jordan, whom you completely destroyed. When we heard of it, our hearts melted in fear, and everyone's courage failed because of you. For Yahweh your God is God in heaven above and on the earth below. Now then, please swear to me by Yahweh, the Lord, that you will show kindness to my family, because I have shown kindness to you. Give me a sure sign that you will spare the lives of my father and mother, my brothers and sisters, and all who belong to them, and that you will save us from death." "Our lives for your lives," the men assured her. If you don't tell what we are doing, we will treat you kindly and faithfully when Yahweh gives us the land." So she let them down by a rope through the window, for the house she lived in was part of the city wall. She said to them, "Go to the hills so the pursuers will not find you. Hide yourselves there 3 days until they return, and then go on your way." Now the men had said to her, "This oath you made us swear will not be binding to us unless, when we enter the land, you have tied this scarlet cord in the window through which you let us down, and unless you have brought your father and mother, your brothers, and all your family into your house. If any of them go outside your house into the street, their blood will be on their own heads. We will not be responsible. As for those who are in the house with you, their blood will be on our hands, on our head, if a hand is laid on them. But if you tell what we are doing, we will be released from the oath you made us swear." "Agreed," she replied. "Let it be as you say." So she sent them away, and they departed. And she tied the scarlet cord in the window. When they left, they went into the hills and stayed there 3 days until the pursuers had searched all along the road and returned without finding them. Then the 2 men started back. They went down out of the hills, forded the river, and came to Joshua son of Nun and told him everything that had happened to them. They said to Joshua, "The Lord has surely given us the whole land. Into our hands all the people are melting in fear because of us." And the second one was the NIV version. I think it's interesting that in both they were trusting for a sign of promise. And I think it's really quite beautiful that God takes the promise to Rahab even further. Because it says in the text that her house was part of the wall. Well, we know that the walls of Jericho crashed down later in the story. So it's beautiful that God not only protected her completely, He upheld their bargain. That He protected her and included her not only into the family of Israel, but into the bloodline of Jesus. And I think that's a really beautiful thing. Makes me think of a sign of things to come. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. I will see you guys Friday. Yes. Maybe tomorrow. I don't know. Just going where the word takes me. See you then. God bless.